love it. Nothing to add, nothing to subtract. That just nailed it when it comes to transferable skills, because you are absolutely on point there. And anyone who's listening will absolutely understand what you just said about those benefits. You have stayed in Toastmasters. You mentioned you're retired now, but you have
Yeah.
stayed in Toastmasters. Please tell the listeners and myself why. Why are you still investing your fees, your skills? Whenever we have elections, we're all looking to see if Tim Knight is around, because when you're around, we know totally order and protocol will be followed to the letter. But why? What is in it for you? Why have you stayed?
Well, the short answer is I love it. Um, it I've never been to a Toastmasters meeting I haven't enjoyed. Um, there's also another subtle aspect, and that is that I am respected. So therefore, I have to get it right. If I have to get it right, I have to prepare and make sure I get it right. And so
Mhm.
I've got that sort of stepwise thing. I'm asked to do something. I prepare it to make sure it's right, and that is a stressful exercise. Have I covered everything? And then you
Mhm.
do it, and then you get the evaluation and the thanks afterwards. And that's a wonderful exercise. I love it.
Mm.
And and the extraordinary thing is, I get quite stressed up. I'm to the point where I know how to handle stress. But I think
Mhm.
a person that was getting the same amount of stress who wasn't experiencing handling the stress, I think would be very worried. But I recognize that is the best symptom to have. It means
Wow.
you're caring about it. And you're caring about it enough that you're worrying about it. And therefore you get it right. And then, whoa, that worked. Yes. And you get that, and that's happened all my Toastmasters career. And I love it. I wouldn't miss it for the world. I've never been to a Toastmasters meeting I haven't enjoyed, except I made a faux pas a couple of months ago. I was embarrassed and I had to get that right. And so nobody cared, but I did. So,
But you did. Exactly. And you see, others, because of the respect, probably didn't care. It didn't notice it to be a monumental anything, except you
yeah.
knew that there was another level. You have a higher standard. Absolutely awesome. Now, you have just said our little tagline: if it's not fun, it's not Toastmasters, because
Yeah.
Toastmasters is a lot of fun. And I had somebody asking me the other day, your status is always Toastmasters this, Toastmasters that. What is the deal? Do you get paid? I said, no, not in monetary terms, but it is such a good place for me. I call it my happy place. When I'm doing anything Toastmasters related, I am absolutely on top of the world. I'm enjoying myself. I love it. I feel energized. So I can relate. And like you, I'll be a Toastmaster for life. I can say that without reservation. I know that's where I'm going with it. Now,
I,
if you,
Let me tell you about money. The
sure.
philosophy I have, you don't get paid in Toastmasters. You don't get paid. But you
Mhm.
see, what happens is if you get paid, you then have all the trauma of the money going into your bank and you got your bank charges. And then after that, you get taxed or you get taxed beforehand. And then you take that money out of that and you spend it on what? Something to give you pleasure. Toastmasters short circuits all that and gives you
Short
pleasure
circuit.
directly.
Love it, love it, love it. That is so true. That's the bottom line. I don't need retail therapy. I don't need to be constantly on holiday. I can just hop on a call
Yes.
and be in a Toastmasters meeting. Love it. That's a new one. I absolutely get it. And then, of course, those who are smart, who really want to monetize, there are 101 ways to do it, because the minute you're joining these meetings, something is always dropping ideas. It gets your creative juices going. So
You're right. Yeah.
there
Yeah.
is that as well. So the investment is well worth it. That's the short story to it. It's an amazing investment into personal development. As
Yes.
we attempt to go and wrap up a little bit, I need to know from the first meeting you had, you say the 1st of March, what year was it? 19,
74.
1974.
Sorry,
From that very first,
1984. We're talking about 1984.
1984,
Yes.
40, yes. From first meeting, March 1984, if you could go back in time and speak to Tim Knight then, who is still just getting in, is there something different you tell Tim?
Hmm. I think don't argue so much.
Okay, all right. Well thought out and well said. Then I would say to a listener who is coming in, take that advice because it's being given by someone who has walked this journey and he would have told himself, don't argue so much. So a wise person will not argue so much. Get on board and do the needful. Anything you would have done different apart from not arguing? Did you take up roles immediately? Were you immediately getting into grammarian? You needed grammarian. I am here. You need a treasurer. I am here. Tell us a little
Yeah,
bit
no, I
about
did all that.
those roles. You did.
Yes, something very silly happened. I'd been a member for about 6 months, I think, and um, one of the members who I argued with a lot, he, he said, "Come and have a game of squash with me, will you?" And I thought this was strange. Why would he ask me to have a game of squash? I knew he played squash and I played squash, but our relationship wasn't such that we would be wanting to have a game of squash. And I couldn't make it. Always wondered why. No, not always. I wondered at the time, why was he asking me? But I couldn't make it on the time. He said, okay, okay, fair enough. The next time, a, another person was elected as nominated as Sergeant at Arms, and I had to wait a year before I was nominated as Sergeant at Arms. I often think I would have been nominated to that job a year earlier. Didn't matter, but often wonder about that. I never asked him. Maybe I should have.
Maybe you should have. It would have been an interesting answer, and we would now have the answer. Now, Toastmasters has evolved over the time that you have been in Toastmasters.
Yeah.
What are some of the changes that you have seen that you'd want to share with us? We are now celebrating 100 years in 2024 of Toastmasters existence. And the challenge for this podcast is to have 100 voices speaking on this podcast to mark the 100 years that Toastmasters has been in operation. What changes have you seen that are noteworthy that you'd like to share with us?
The growth of we're talking 40 years ago now, the growth of the advanced manual, which was, it was probably eight um, first, and then they grew up to 15. And they were always marvelous when they appeared. When I got involved with district, we got a download once a month of information of how we were doing. And it was a really rotten printout. You had to really stare at this thing to interpret it. And so belatedly, and this is as a result of the executive director, Terence McCann at the time, who wasn't computer literate. And so he delayed the use of computing in Toastmasters until he retired. And then fortunately, we had an executive director coming in and we got computing and online services. And so there was that. Um, that was major. But the biggest change of all is the change to pathways. And that I always feel it's a little bit sad that all those wonderful advanced manuals, because you had 15 topics, um, very little of them have been incorporated into pathways. The competent leadership manual is not incorporated, and I think a little bit sad that those have been dispensed with. Maybe that's not the right word, but I think in order for Toastmasters to grow, it had to happen because they just weren't used. It's a pity. They just weren't used. And now we have a wonderful pathway system, everything online, credible material, and really good stuff to really advance with. Whereas the old system, full of wonderful material, but not utilized. So they had to change.
Mm.
Rather a pity that all those things have gone. I'd love to see them incorporated, but there we are. Those are the biggest changes in South Africa. A huge change occurred. Um, uh, a, a, a long time ago, a man called Joe Garmison managed to keep during the apartheid years and enabled blacks, people of color, to be part of Toastmasters meetings, and that was a major breakthrough that he managed to get the government to concede to that during apartheid. Didn't have much effect until a man called Eric Vigi came along and introduced against TI um, contests in the vernacular. So we had
Mm-hmm.
Zulu contests, we had Xhosa contests, and that opened the floodgates, and people of color came into Toastmasters, and that was the greatest development that has happened in South Africa. It's been massive. The addition of a different cultures of lovely people, people of color have got such a fantastic sense of humor. Gosh, they're the only people who I can relate my sense of humor to. I sometimes talk to white people, terrible too, and they don't understand me. But people of color always do. So that I love. So
You have been around them too long now, Tim. You are part of the furniture in Southern Africa now.
absolutely, yeah.
Now, one more thing. Toastmasters, looking forward, how do you think, how do you envision the future of Toastmasters? How are we going to continue impacting and developing communicators? Are we going to stay relevant, do you think? Is this an organization which you perceive in the next 100 years will still be standing? I know what I would like. I'm interested in knowing what you think.
Yeah, 100 years is a bit difficult to say, but I would think it will continue to grow as long as it keeps abreast of the times and provides the relevance that you mentioned, because that was the the starting point of pathways. The word went out: is Toastmasters still relevant? And a team got together and said, to make it relevant, you need to make it operate in this way, and that's what resulted in pathways. And as long as they keep doing that, and I'm working with the board of directors at the moment on club quality, and it's a study to see are our club meetings of the right quality, and we believe that there is room for improvement. But the thing is, the material is all there. There's nothing we're short of in the material in Toastmasters, but people don't know how to find it. People don't know it's there. And so I'm hoping the next step from this study is that there will be guides on how a single sheet, which people can download and have a look at. Oh, this is how I need to increase members. Get this
Mm-hmm.
document. This will help me, because people don't know. I don't know what's on the website. I hunt around, I find it, but I think an
Right.
appreciation and a way of finding what you need is the next step. And as long as that kind of development continues, and there's a huge thrust, a huge philosophy, belief in development
Mm.
in Toastmasters International, that will continue.
Awesome. Awesome. I strongly believe it will continue. And I like the points
Mm.
that you've raised that indeed we need to remain relevant because people are always going to need to communicate. People are always going to need to be confident in their communication. People are going to need leadership skills. And there isn't a place I find, one place where you find all those things happening as they are in Toastmasters. So let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. We are holding the torch for now. We will pass it on to next generation and
Yes.
ensure that it keeps going. I understand there is an award that you are receiving this year. It is something that is exciting, and it really humbles me that it was one ask that would you come on this Toast Talk with Coach Busi? And even with this achievement that you're going to, this award you're going to get, you said yes. Again, attesting to the fact that once you're a Toastmaster, you're not walking alone. There is always someone who's going to support your initiative. And without a second thought, that first ask, I say all that to say, I would love for you to tell us and the listeners about this award you're getting and how it is you got to be nominated for this award. And with that, I'm going to keep quiet and I am all ears.
I think it requires a nomination. It requires, again, an awareness in district of this award and how it is made. And then people within your district will recognize you and think, well, that's that award. Maybe George should have that award. You know, from what I hear, it's that kind of approach and word going around, sort of networking, I suppose. The word going around. This is what happened with me, and suddenly somebody said, "Hey, shouldn't Tim get this award?" Now this was about 5 years ago, and I said, "Oh, okay, sounds good." And so I sat with the guy that was proposing it, and he found out all the things in this. Oh, you comply, yes, for sure. And so he put it together, got together another bloke, and the two of them put together the nomination, and it went through, and it was lost. I've heard nothing, and so I said, but please submit it again. I said, well, all right, let's do it again. And it got lost again. Don't know what happened.
Oh,
Yeah. And the third time it got through, and it was they received it and they got acknowledged. Good. And then I was told, sorry, you haven't made it. You didn't get it. So I gave up. I fair enough. Okay, they've seen me, they know, and then now they've said no, sorry, you're not getting it. 2 years later, this year, out of the blue, I got a letter which read, "You are receiving this letter because either you have nominated somebody or you have been nominated." Or you have been awarded. I thought only Toastmasters International would write a dual purpose letter for such a thing.
exactly.
So, but fortunately, the letter was attached from the international president saying your name has been submitted to receive, the President Citation Award. Wow. So it's out of the blue, really out of the blue, because I've been turned down. So it was really, that was so fantastic. Wow. I still float when I think about it. And anyway,
Yeah.
so that's it. But it's
Ah.
mostly service throughout the years.
Mm-hmm.
I did get another organization, try to get them involved in Toastmasters. There was to get a merger of these two because this organization required the leadership that Toastmasters could give, and I was trying to get them working together. So I think that counted. And then I have started a lot of clubs, but mostly it's just always being there for the last 40 years. I think that was the weight that goes there. I mean, listen to this. You get 40 years of
Mm-hmm.
learning, of achievement, of fulfillment, and fun. and you get an award for it. That's not a bad deal,
And
is
you
it?
get an award for it. Not a bad deal at all. Not a bad deal. DTM Tim Knights, I have had the time of my life, and I am excited to ask you again at a later point to tell us about when you would have received your citation. That's going to be fun on the other side of it. This is happening at the convention, am I correct?
Yes.
Awesome. And what an important convention as well, the 100th year. And this
Yeah.
is when
Yeah.
it all came right. So there was a point in all those things getting lost at this time. This is
Mm.
actually the best time for it to happen. The good book I follow says, in the fullness of time, he makes all things beautiful. I am
Yes.
saying this is the fullness of time for you. And my word, is it ever so beautiful. I am excited for you as you head to the convention. For today, my appreciation knows no bounds. I have had another Toastmaster engagement, which has absolutely filled my joy cup, my pleasure, and I am so grateful. I am so grateful for the time. And I'm sure the listeners now know that this Toastmaster walk is not just for a little bit, it can be a part of your lifestyle,
Yeah.
such as it has
Absolutely.
been for you. Do you
For
have
sure.
one last word you would want to say to the listeners before we wind up and close this segment?
I think it would be uh, keep at it, keep communicating, and you will succeed.
How succinct is that? Said like a typical Toastmaster who knows how to say it to the point, and you all have a takeaway. That is the call to action. Thank you so much, DTM tonight. It has been an honor and a pleasure, and I look forward to having a follow up interview on the other side of the conversation.